The Smoker's Cage. Some have lauded it as the greatest piece of performance art of the century, while others accuse the artist of infringing on the rights of its unwitting participants. Tonight, on Outside the Artist Studio, we will bring you interviews from noted critics, some of the participants, and even the artist himself.
Outside the Artist Studio.
To gain insights into the process that the artist took when he set out to create his masterwork, I sat down with Shea Emiliano, noted performance artist and critic. Signor Emiliano, you've had a long career as a performance artist and a performance art critic, but perhaps one of your more controversial works was a piece you performed at the Baltimore Penn Station when you and your team were nearly arrested. Could you tell us about that?
Sure. It was a few weeks after 9/11, and my crew had decided to do a piece on the impermanence of wealth. Well, we thought, what better symbol than powdered cocaine? What we had done is that we had actually brought Ziploc bags of this mixture to the station, and apparently they didn't like that because there was some sort of unrelated anthrax scare, and I personally didn't buy it. I think they were trying to censor us artistically.
Well, that's very interesting. How would you compare that piece and its controversial nature to The Smoker's Cage?
Oh, well, personally, I think they're apples and oranges, but if I had to say, I'd say The Smoker's Cage blows that piece right out of the water.
Really?
Absolutely. It's very clear that the artist was trying to capture the contrast between the objectivity, quote-unquote, of the laws of our society and the subjectivity of the human experience.
That's fascinating, truly fascinating. Shea, what is your personal take on the piece?
Well, personally, I think the piece really screams avant-garde in the best possible way. It really expresses the artist's desire to send a message. I really do think that this captures human nature in such a way that it's really incomparable to most of the modern art these days. Like, we are witnessing the birth of a new zeitgeist of our generation. Like, when I see this, I think, boom, polemic. Perfect.
Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, Senator Emiliano.
I know it has.
Next, I met with Alphonse Devois, a critic who's been notoriously skeptical of modern art installations such as The Smoker's Cage. Good evening, Monsieur Devois.
Oh, really? And what makes this a good one?
It's just a pleasantry. I'm not actually saying this evening is better than any other.
Indeed.
So,
Yes?
what is your take on The Smoker's Cage?
The Mona Lisa, the Sistine Chapel, the Dream of the Fisherman's Wife, these are great works of art. These capture the angst of a people. These capture our revolutionary spirit. The Smoker's Cage is just a gathering of smokers in a cage, smoking.
Well, why don't you see it as a piece of art?
It required no artistic skill. It has no merit. It has no message. It is merely a gathering of people with a nicotine addiction.
So, when you look beyond the surface of the piece, don't you see a message that it has for all of us?
No.
After a stimulating interview with Monsieur Devois, I decided it was time to interview some of the participants of the performance. So, what made you decide to take part in this monumental statement about the futility of upwards mobility of the working class and about the decaying morals of this increasingly media-saturated population?
Well, when I was 13, I listened to a Bob Dylan song. And when you listen to Bob Dylan, you fully understand what it is to be a poor working class man.
I've never seen more people act like the worst of their, like the worst person they could possibly be. They do that here, and it's beautiful. Really,
It's really just, this century Sodom.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's so salty, you wouldn't believe it. Pillars of all kinds of spices.
How does taking part in this performance make you feel about your place in the world?
Well, the school is doing a very good job of reminding us to not get too uppity because we're undergraduate students. So whenever I feel the urge to do like uppity high class things like stand in a meadow or eat, I get to be reminded that I'm only an undergraduate by going into this concrete pit full of spikes.
After interviewing the performers, I decided it was time to interview the artist. The artist would only meet with me under the promise of complete anonymity. Are you the artist?
Shh. I have many enemies.
Is that because of the nature of your work?
Yes, my work does upset some social norms, and the man doesn't take too kindly to that.
And how does your work subvert the social norms?
Tell me, what subverts social norms more than just taking smokers, putting them into a dense clump, creating an impenetrable miasma of tobacco smoke?
What do you say to your detractors? People who say that clumping lots of smokers together into a concrete cage isn't art.
It has no meaning, therefore it is art!
On this episode of Outside the Artist Studio, we took a long, deep look into one of the newest pieces of performance art in the country, the Smoker's Cage. We interviewed some of the performers to gain insight into their opinion on their performance in this piece. In addition, we sat down with several noted critics and the artist himself. Interestingly enough, one of the critics, Signor Emiliano, shared similar perspectives on the piece with the artist. Come to think of it, he also had a very similar appearance and voice. Holy crap! They're the same person! Oh! God, that makes so much sense! Oh! How does that work? They're the same person! Oh! That is amazing! How does that make sense? Oh my God! They're the same person! They're the same person! Oh God! Oh! That's... Oh!
Outside the Artist Studio is brought to you by your local PBS affiliates